going on? It's your boy Sailboat with Sailboat.Sneakers here with you. As you can see today, a little bit of a departure from the usual beater box series. During this unfortunate quarantine time where we're all trying to stay home and make sure that we're preventing the spread of COVID, I decided to get a little bit more into the restoration and deep cleaning of sneakers to try and give a more full spectrum of an idea of what type of work needs to go into beater box style sneakers to bring them back to their former glory and potentially maximize profit, because after all, isn't that what the beater boxes are for, is to make a little bit of money? One of the things that I have gotten into a little bit more recently is the de-oxidation of soles and midsoles and rubber components of sneakers. Over time, these components are going to change. Typically, yellowing and cloudiness are two of the major types of changes that you can expect to see in white or icy types of rubber on sneakers. This pair of Concords right here is a very clear example of that. These soles are in really, really rough condition. One of them is a little bit lighter because I actually have been trying to deoxidize it. The other one, you can tell, is fucking piss yellow. It is disgusting. These things are crazy, crazy yellow. You can tell that left shoe there is like just insanely, insanely dark. I have been working on this right shoe here, so you can tell, or I hope that you can tell, that there's a pretty obvious difference. I have been working on these shoes outside in the sunlight, probably in a combined total of about 10 hours worth. Not too bad, but you would expect that San Diego, we get pretty consistent sunlight. Well, the past week, it's been absolutely pouring. So I wanted to be able to do it all the time. So I had to make a purchase to do that. Sometimes you gotta spend a little bit of money to make a little bit of money. I went ahead and I got this cool LED light fixture here. So this thing was an eBay purchase, 3 returns on it, coming from just a little bit in Northern California. So I figure, what's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work for me, I can return it. This is about a $60 unit right here. This is gonna hang right from the ceiling. It's got a couple of wire tethers to it that you can just hang up from a fixture. And that's all there is to it. I'm gonna start icing shoes indoors. Now, the only icer that I've used thus far is Angelus Solbright, and it's worked halfway decently for me. I definitely don't have that much experience, so I can't compare it to anything else. A pretty solid product based off of the results that I've seen. So I'm gonna try to bring these Concords back to their former glory. These are gonna be a learning experience. I'm gonna try to be doing all sorts of whitening and brightening and lightening, and this is just my getting into it phase right here. This is me taking a whack at it, and I'm glad that you guys are gonna be here to join me to see what sort of progress I get. So I'll make sure that I'm documenting this as we go along. Now, as far as my application is concerned, you'll also notice that I've taped off the midsoles of the sneakers. I've also heard mixed things about sole sauce and midsoles. Some people say that it will damage the midsoles. Some people say that it will not damage the midsoles. Some people say it's dependent on the sauce. Again, it didn't take me too long, so I decided to go ahead and do it to make sure that I wasn't going to damage anything. Another thing to note about my application is you'll notice that I'm not using any sort of gloves or anything either. A lot of people do choose to use gloves, especially if you have sensitive skin. This stuff can be a little bit irritating. From my understanding, based off of all my research, this is not harmful to the skin necessarily, again, unless you have like an open wound of some sort. So in my situation, again, it doesn't really bother me. It just leaves a little bit of a white residue that comes off after a little bit. The next step here is going to be the cling wrap, which helps to make sure that the sole sauce doesn't dry out. I'm gonna place one sheet on the back part right here. With Jordan 11s, I guess it's pretty common that it will bubble right in the middle there if you do one sheet all the way through because of how narrow And this one I'm going to place in a vertical position so that it covers the top 2/3 of the shoe. So the bottom part covers like the bottom 2/3, the top one covers the top 2/3. The sauce should help to keep the cling wrap right in place. I'm just gonna secure it down like such. Boom, it's ready to go. Let's go take a look at the actual setup that we have now in the closet. And we're gonna go to this very archaic setup here. Very, very basic right now. I know that I still need the Mylar reflective liner. This just literally strapped in by a belt. It's just hanging down. I'm going to go ahead and place the shoe in. We're gonna try to balance it out, keeping it in a position so that the light will be able to shine directly on it. We're gonna turn on the light here. You'll see how bright this sucker is. Woo! So obviously it's not too crazy right now because of the fact that I don't have the Mylar reflective in there. I got about a foot of space in between the light and the sneaker. You can see Saturday, April 11th at 4:48 p.m. We are at day number 2 officially of having the UV light. The right shoe of the Concords has been underneath the UV light for approximately 24 hours at this point in time. There is no Mylar reflective sheet, which is something that I'm actually lucky enough to have received in the mail today. Got my sunglasses here so we can check in on the actual Concord underneath the UV light. So let's get into that. Really quickly, I just want to show you guys the timestamp for today. If you remember from yesterday's filming, I started these at about 4:43, so we're looking at about 24 hours. We're gonna come down. You can see it gets pretty bright. So here's the current setup. Here is the Concord. Let me go ahead and pull that guy out. So right off of the bat, in comparison to yesterday, I don't see any crazy obvious results. It's definitely gonna take a minute for me to get some of this sauce washed off of the shoe to ensure that we have the kind of most accurate results possible. You can tell that there's definitely a huge difference still, but I just can't tell if there's been any difference over the course of the last 24 hours. One thing that I do want to get into, however, is these Mylar reflective sheets. Pretty simple packaging right here. And you can tell that this is like a big old strip here. It reflects that light pretty heavily. So we're gonna go ahead and set this up in the indoor setup, so next time we go to ice the shoes, hopefully we'll get even better results because we'll have this. So basically, what you can see so far is I've lined the inside as best as I possibly can using one of these big old sheets. And the next thing that I'll do is cover up the rest of it using one more sheet. So I have a very archaic, kind of basic setup here. You can see that the light reflects pretty nicely off of the paper. Let's get down to checking in on the actual comparison of one sneaker versus the other, and then we will get these guys set up in the box. We're gonna aim for a total of maybe like 4 to 5 24-hour sessions and see what ends up happening. Let's get into comparing the shoes and then prepping for day number 2 of an indoor de-yellowing session. So I'm going to be super basic with this cleaning right here. I'm just going to use a little bit of laundry detergent. Just a tiny bit here, quite honestly. I don't think I'm going to need too much. So basically what I'm going to aim to do is just get the sauce off of the shoe. So then that way you guys can see the difference between this shoe and the one that we haven't worked on yet. Given it about an hour and a half since I cleaned off the sole of the right shoe here. That little bit of extra white residue is pretty much all cleaned off, which is excellent news. A little bit of a close-up view for you right here. So you can tell that the right shoe definitely maintains its iciness after a 24-hour icing session in the indoor setup. I did not have the Mylar sheets on there, so it didn't get the 100% treatment, but now we got those Mylar sheets in there as I just showed you before with the new part of the setup. Let's go take a quick look to actually we're gonna come over, we're gonna take our wrapped up Concord and we are going to place it right in the indoor setup here. I'm gonna flip on that light, boom. You can see I got about a foot of space in between the shoe and the actual light. And right now we have April 12th at 6:30 p.m. What's good, everybody? This is day number 3, technically. Today, I'm going to be showing you results 24 hours after utilizing those Mylar sheets with the UV light. So far this shoe has been under the UV light for 48 total hours. I just want to show you guys the timestamp real quickly. 4:30 on Monday, April 13th. So you can tell the right shoe is substantially lighter than the left shoe. Realistically, that's great news, because that's kind of what we're hoping for, is that with the continued sessions that we're going to get better and better results with less and less yellowing of those shoes. You can see there's a very substantial difference from an untreated shoe to a treated shoe. Let's go ahead, we'll take off some of the saran wrap here. So you can see there's still a little bit of the sauce on there, but overall, that shoe is substantially better condition than where we started. I think my goal for today is I'm going to go ahead and construct a little bit of a better indoor setup. I like the one that we have right now, but I feel like we can do even better. I feel like we can get those Mylar sheets stretched out a little bit more. So I'm gonna go ahead and make one of those today using one of my old beater boxes. So well, that took a minute, but now we got something, even though it looks more basic, it's actually a little bit better. So you can see the inside lining of this box is a little bit more even all the way throughout. It's not quite as wrinkly. All of the Mylar sheets are held right in place. I've taped them securely. I think I probably could have used stapler too, and that would have been a good idea, but for the product that I got, I'm pretty happy. Next step is to take the Concord 11, which we have just freshly scrubbed down, and applied a fresh layer of sole sauce to. We're gonna do 2 more sessions. One of them is gonna be about a 30-hour session. The second one is gonna be even a little bit longer than that. That's gonna be about a 36-hour session. So we're gonna... What's going on, guys? Here we are officially on day 4 of restoration. So as you saw, the time right now, 12:20 a.m. on Wednesday, April 15th, about 30 hours after our last icing session. So this is what we have so far, folks. Let's bring it in a little bit closer so you guys can see that Right now there is certainly a very good amount of white residue left over because of the Sailboat. Now this is normal, very, very typical. You can see it's a lot lighter. If we take a look at the lateral aspect of the outsole, it's a substantial difference. It really, really is. The sole has been substantially brightened. We have one more big session left to go. We'll get into the last final icing session momentarily. Realistically, this should be the last cling wrap session. We are sauced and wrapped, ready for the last sole saucing session of this. You can see right there, Wednesday, April 19th, 12:41 a.m. We are going on the last session. All right, everybody, so we are here. This is officially the final day of the de-yellowing process. So far, we've iced only the right shoe using Angelus Sailboat. The first session was about a 10-hour session outdoors on and off sunlight. The second session was 24 hours underneath the UV light with no Mylar sheet. Third session, 24 hours under UV light with the Mylar sheet. Fourth session, 30 hours. Fifth and final session was 36 hours underneath the UV light with the Mylar sheet. I'm gonna give you guys a quick time check. We're gonna grab the shoe, we're gonna compare. So you can see it's Thursday, April 16th at 12:14 p.m. So let's get the plastic wrapping off. You can tell that right sneaker, significantly lighter. Now I know that there's still a bunch of sole sauce on there that needs to be wiped down, so we're gonna go ahead and do that in just a moment here. Gonna run some water, scrub it down, let it dry off, and then we'll make some final comparisons. Overall, it's looking way, way better than where we started, but let's figure out what it looks like after we get it all cleaned off. Final scrub down here. Just gonna use a little bit of laundry detergent, free of dye and free of fragrance. That's all I need, is just a little bit. We got the sauce off. We just need the rest of the chemical reaction to occur, so that kind of powdery type layer will go away. Got to get the rest of the tape off there, and we will do final comparisons to see where we are at. All right, folks, it's the moment that you all been waiting for. This is the final look at the Concords to see how the right shoe did with Angelus Sailboat. One of the things that you can tell just by looking, even from a far shot, is that the shoe is substantially clearer than the left shoe, which is still piss yellow, obviously. Bringing up the closer shot here, you can see that there is still a little bit of a milky hue to the sole. So it's not like I got a completely 100% icy see-through, but comparatively, it's really, really night and day. Especially right where the carbon fiber shank is, you can see that's probably the spot that looks the most icy. You can just obviously see through it the most. Right up through the forefoot area, behind that back pod, there's still a little bit of chemical reaction going on, which is why you can tell that it's still a little bit cloudy. That will clear up and it will become the same kind of iciness as the rest of the sole. You can see that a little bit in the front pod. Now the spots where I got the least results, in my opinion, would be along the outer brim of the outsole there. You can definitely tell that it looks a lot better than the left shoe still. but it's just not 100%. It's not where I would expected that it would be. Overall, I'm super pumped. This is the first pair of shoes that I've ever tried to ice before. I'm definitely happy with my first effort. I know that there's still a lot of work left to go. I still have to fine tune and dial in the process, but overall it looks really, really good. What do you guys think? How did they come out in your eyes? Have any of you ever done this before and you have any suggestions for me? Any comments, any feedback would be greatly, greatly appreciated. I really, really want to get better at this. Like I said, it's my first try. I think the results came out pretty damn good and I'm very, very happy with it. Stay tuned. I do have a couple of other pairs that I'm going to be icing up. So there's a whole bunch more coming down the chute. Really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Take care. It's your boy Sailboat. Checking out.